Okay, broadcast is going as well. All right. Hey, everyone. This is episode 363 of the UtiniCast. We're getting the stream and the broadcast going a little bit early so that we can get the show going right at noon. Doc has a bit of a limited window right now, and then we will get it going. So, yeah, Pirate Incursion on Dantooine is now out. It's been alive for roughly an hour, and we'll talk about that some, but we're also going to talk, of course, about all the information that they gave us at the Spoils of War live stream. Doc is typing away. All right, let me get my Twitch going for OotiniCast so I can see the... that's not it. Where is it? There we go. And we'll tweet this out. Yep. The podcast or the stream is live. Excellent. Let me get this tweeted out and we'll get going. Should be just about time at that point. All right. Okay, since I have the moment, I'll go ahead and retweet it as well. My personal account will be good to go.
Do we have a guest today? Just us?
No guest today, it's just us.
Because I deleted their spot in the show notes to talk about their week.
I can, that's all right, that's easy enough to add back in.
Take that.
All right.
Okay, I think I'm ready to go.
Okay, is Audacity rolling?
Yep, I'm recording.
Okay. Okay, then. Let's see. Technically, it's not. Yeah, it's only 10 seconds away. I think we're good. Hey, Duck Sauce, how's it going? All right, we're gonna... excuse me. We're going to get going so that we can finish this up, because we do have a limited window for Doc.
It's not that limited.
Yeah, Gallard. Hey, Jason.
Mostly okay.
Oh, into the game? Yeah, I was able to on Satil Sean as a subscriber, Jason. I don't know about... however, Starforge specifically has been having problems, so you might be having troubles with Starforge, if that's your server. So there you go. Hey, Japeo. So yeah, so they are having issues on Starforge. There was apparently some lag, and they even briefly took it down and brought it back up. But when I just a few minutes ago tried to log into Starforge just to see how it was going, it let me log in, but then it put me in a queue for 545, and I'm a subscriber, so yeah. They're having issues on Starforge, for sure. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get going so that we can... finish up in good time for Doc, and then I can, of course, work on editing and such. All right. Oh, interesting, Galahard. I didn't have any problems with Satil Sean. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Doc's still typing.
Yeah,
I swear, Doc, when you type, it sounds like those things when you see Kermit typing. You know, that gif of Kermit typing.
I hope I'm a little bit speedier than that, though. Because if you look at the cadence, he's just going tap, 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 tap,
really fast. Yeah. All right. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the UtiniCast, the podcast that is critical to the development of this superweapon. This is episode 363, being recorded on Tuesday, June 4th, 2019. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Dr. Swtor. Hey, Doc.
Hey, Chill, let's record this before the mic's enrage.
That's right. No special guests today. It's just the two of us doing it on a very special time and date. I appreciate Doc being able to come in today because the rest of my week is crazy.
It's all your
Personal
fault, Chill.
stuff. It is. My son's graduating high school. Wow. And of course, we have all sorts of relatives coming in from all over, and yeah, so it's gonna be crazy, but it's gonna be nice too. So here we go. So Doc, what you been doing in game?
I have actually been playing a lot. I was driven. I was on a mission.
Nice.
And I got to go one-on-one with the best teacher there is, which is failure. Chill.
That's right.
I've been working really hard on getting my raid team through hard mode Brontis, and I got to do a couple hard mode pugs, which that sounds terrible, but I found out it's not quite so bad as it sounds. It could be bad. It's kind of like playing the lottery because there's a lot of people who say that they're a role and they're not. But if you luck out and you know where to recruit people, you can actually do hard mode ops without knowing people. And Memorial Day was actually a really good day to make that attempt. And I got to see Brontis in Rage. So as a DPS, that makes me feel kind of bad. But I was 1 out of 4 DPS in that particular group. And, I learned that you have to let the, healers do the healing and not help them out at all. Because with that boss, you have 9 minutes. And that's all you get.
That's right.
So I didn't even know going into it that boss enrages, and so that was nice information to have. So I added that to my notes for that op, and hopefully we'll get it soon. If anyone wants to watch how close we got, I put the video on the show notes. And I guess that means that I also dusted off my stream channel and not really streaming for social reasons. So if you're getting in there to say hi, I'm doing my best to say hi and show and acknowledge that you're watching. So thanks to everyone that I saw this week. But I am driven to get a recording of me beating this boss. So there's actually a gameplay purpose for why I decided to stream a little bit more this week. So it'll happen soon, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Also, Chill, my study on frustration and discomfort started this week. And this one's open to any online video game player. So it was really neat because, some of the people that follow me from Swtor seem to respond and click on the link because I have some responses already, and that's really nice.
Yep, I did it myself, so...
And so it's nice. And also gamers are not the only population involved in this study. So I'm trying to create a comparison of how different types of people with different goals in life experience their frustration, discomfort, and the other factors that line up with those questions. And unlike last study I did, it's really quick. Some people are completing it in under 5 minutes. So,
wow.
That's pinned on my Twitter page if you're interested in answering some questions about how you get frustrated playing your online games or not, or how you don't get frustrated. And so the window probably for how long that will be live is through the month of June. I don't expect that we'll need longer than that. And I'm really excited about the patch today, and I'm going to rely on you because I think you've been able to visit Dantooine, and I'm still waiting in queue. Thanks, BioWare. So before we hear from you, Chill, who do we have in the chat room today?
All right. Well, let's see. Thanks, everyone, for coming on this unusual date and time. Got a fair number of people here. It's Zero... Bad Apple Zero, 24 fan lovers here. Hey, 24. Commander Root, Dekion is here, our guild leader. You are here, of course, Doc. Eric 4678, Gator Skull 1289, Japeo, Inkata 1, Intisar Nor, Resident Jason, RJR75, Siskaika, Sir Galahard, Sludge Stirred, Squishy Twitchy, that Duck Sauce is here, hey Duck, Totally Not Castiana, VNK, Virgo Praz, and Marcus is here, Working Class Nerds 17. Hey everyone, alright. So before today, when Pirate Incursion dropped, I've been working on, well, what I've been thinking about doing is I want to do a Nautilin when the expansion drops. So I've been thinking, like, what one do I want to do? And I've decided I want to do one in the vein of a Mind Flayer from Dungeons and Dragons, because, you know, face tentacles and all that.
That's really neat.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So that definitely is a Sith. I mean, you can't do a Mind Flayer and not do it as a Sith. But I wasn't sure which one. Probably Inquisitor more than a Warrior, but you could do either, I suppose. So I was thinking, well, okay, if we're going Inquisitor, then, you know, I probably should look on the other side and look at Sages and Shadows and see, you know, just play around with one for a while and, you know, see what specs I like, what classes I like, and that sort of thing. So I've been jumping back on Santa because I remember, you might remember from Light and Dark Side event, Santa was my light side character, and he's a Shadow. And it's been a lot of fun. He really is one of the best cosplay characters I have. He's very accurate. Nadia's dressed up as Mrs. Claus, and she has the white hair too, of course. And you know, I've got the Life Day orb, and I've got the sleigh. I mean, it's very complete, and it feels really good to play him again. It's a lot of fun. But I've been trying different specs. I tried the tanking. I tried the dot spec, which I might have to try again, but because I tried it for such a short time, but it was very, I don't know, it just wasn't jiving with me. I just couldn't get it to feel good for me. And so I've been working on them, like the middle spec, like the backstabby, stealthy spec, kind of. It's very single target oriented, but it's not bad. And so I might try the dot one again, but whatever. Because I've been flipping back and forth, the gearing is horrible. Because, you know, I don't have much of anything, and, you know, I'm back on the damage spec right now, but I still have some tank gear. You know, it's a mess, but whatever. It's been fun. I've been enjoying it a lot. I got some war zones in, which I haven't done on a stealthing class for a while, which was really fun. Managed to sneak it was Ancient Hypergate, and snuck their thing back within like the last 10 seconds before it, you know, was going to explode, and that put us like hundreds of points ahead, so we won the game. That felt really
MVP,
awesome.
Chill.
Yeah, I know. And then of course my numbers were like really low, and no one gave me an honor, but it was fun anyway.
It's more honorable in PvP to not be honored by PvPers.
Sometimes, yeah. So, and the damage spec is very squishy. Even with like your cooldowns and stuff, I feel very squishy, especially compared to like Mercs, where like they have all of those super healing, cooldowns and everything. But the damage is okay, given the fact that my gear is kind of junk. So I've been doing that, and it's been a lot of fun. I also made sure that he got all of his story done. He was pretty much done anyway, but we had to do the Traitors Trilogy, Osus, and then it turned out I hadn't done Makeb on him for whatever reason, so I went back and did Makeb as well. Yeah, so he's all done. And then today now we have Pirate Incursion. So I was on him on Pirate Incursion. Now it only started just over an hour ago now. I didn't have time to finish because I had like half an hour or so to play it. There's also actually when you just log in, I guess you probably have to be a certain amount through the story, but there's a certain short series of conversations about your alliance and like where they stand in the galaxy, and you can make a few choices and stuff like that. It was kind of interesting, yeah. I didn't expect it. It's not directly related to Dantooine, but it's kind of related in the sense that it's kind of letting you know, okay, where your alliance is, you know, in terms of, you know, the power structure, you know, between the Republic and the Empire, and where, you know, where you're allied and so on. So it was, yeah, so that was kind of interesting. And then I did start Pirate Incursion. Didn't really finish it, but it apparently, I mean, from what I can tell, you basically do, you know, you go there, you do some conversations, and then you do dailies. You go right to the dailies. So maybe when I turn in like the first daily, there'll be more conversations, but it feels very much like the conversation is short but sweet. There's, you know, it's letting you know, hey, there's pirates there, and just the story that we already know is coming. The pirates are there, but they're being egged on by the Empire, and the Empire's there, and then both sides are kind of fighting over Dantooine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really interesting planet. I really like how it looks because there's a lot of pastoral areas, but the buildings are very. There's a couple of like really big buildings, which mean so it feels a little different because like usually like if it's a pastoral one, you like on Alderaan, it's like yeah, as soon as you leave, like it's just wilderness pretty much, that sort of thing. Here it's like there's a couple of really big buildings that are sort of like looming in the distance all the time. The pirates seem to be relatively tough. They do kind of level up based on your level, so they didn't make them easy, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
And there's some interesting ones. Like I jump in. There's one where you go in this little instance and you jump in a turret, and there's like a turret fight. You have to use the abilities at the right time, click on the bad guys and stuff like that. Okay. So there's a couple of unusual ones that, yeah, seemed like fun. I haven't tried any heroics yet. Didn't have time, and I really haven't gotten out of that like first area, so I don't know which is pretty big. And I think there's like one big area starting for the Republic and kind of a big one presumably for the Empire. And it looks like most of the map is going to be taken up by that, and there's going to be just a little bit like sort of like neutral area kind of stuff. But yeah, really good. Oh, and there's some really cool pirate ships floating up in the sky. That's really nice. Yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, it's going to be a daily area. Exactly, what the best gear and stuff to get out of that, I really haven't figured out for sure yet. Especially since I'm not on a character who's at end game gear. But so far it has been fun, and I'm excited to try it. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in the news, but let's go ahead and get on to the tip of the week. We did have one tip sent in this week, so it's normally by random allotment, but obviously we know who's going to win today. So if you want a chance to win these prizes, please send in a tip. Agent Iron Spider.
More random by waiting to say who gave us the tip.
Yeah, that's about
until after you've read it.
Except I did just kind of blurt it out. So it's Agent Iron Spider who he sent in tips before too. So he knows what the score is. he knows how to get the prizes. So he wrote in, it's not uncommon to need to go AFK while in a group. Often this leads to the rest of the group going on ahead and waiting for you at a boss while you catch up. Just waiting for you to get back, or they go on ahead. Well, often the last option is no big deal. Sometimes it can lead to you not getting credit. For example, when you're doing heroics. One thing you can do is target a group mate, right-click them, and select follow. This will cause your character to follow them even when you're not at your computer. Then when you get back, you'll have gotten credit for everything and or be right there for the next conversation or boss. And if you happen to have your companion out on heals, they'll also continue to heal the group. However, warning, do not do this without letting your group know, as it can upset people that you are active but not fighting. Also, you can get stuck, and I hope this is a helpful tip. Happy trails. So thanks, Iron Spider. It's true, yeah. And yeah, you can get stuck, because what they can kind of do is if the person you're following kind of jumps up on something that's a little too high or whatever, goes around a corner a certain way, you can kind of get scraped off, essentially. And you end up, and if you get too far away from them, you just stand still, and the follow command just stops at that point. So you can sort of fall behind, but yeah, it can be useful in certain situations too.
So that literally is carrying people through the instance.
Exactly. You wouldn't want to do this in any sort of like difficult content, because people are not going to be happy. But if it's like an emergency, you have to go to the door or something. The doorbell rings or something. This sort of thing can help. So thank you, Iron Spider. You're the winner of a Tonfon or M83R droid pet code, courtesy of Bioware, and a new OotiniCast provided cartel market pack from the late shipment. If you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. And that will bring us to the Jedi Mind Trap. Doc?
All right, so this one is a follow-up from what I tried to explain to the audience last week with the graphic and all the different bubbles that are in orbit around this game helps me to de-stress from something or from things in my life. But that center bubble is not specific because de-stressing actually has about 8 different forms. A few more if you want to be really specific. And so I had to go to the drawing board on how do I do this mind trap question, because in my head I knew what I wanted to do, but sometimes on the episode I have to harp about how limited the Twitter polling is because it's 4 options and limited characters for each option.
Right.
And I didn't want those restraints for this because there's so many ways that I couldn't figure out how to make it just 4, because then I'd feel like 1 or 2 got left out. So we did a ranking system poll this week, and thank you everyone who jumped in and spent 20 or 30 seconds to rank the different ways that stress happens to you. So the idea was that there are 8 different options, and you drag them into a priority system. So the higher they are up on the list, the higher rank you're designating. So in the show notes, I've posted the results from the people who did vote. You see the different options about how stress and your recovery from stress while playing Swtor works. And the lower the number, the stronger the type of de-stressing is, because it's a rank system. So if I say something's number 1, then that's the strongest vote that I can give it. So that's why the lower numbers indicate higher strength. So we have, I'm going to just read them in random order, but why does Swtor help me recover from stress? The options we could have chosen to rank are I can problem solve well, relaxation, social support helps, work fatigue or daily stress, escape feels the best, emotional coping is a must, being awesome at something, and taking control over my tasks. So Chill, you did this poll. I did it myself too, but that's cheating. So what were you thinking about? What were the ones that you're looking for, and then you decided that must mean this, and then maybe what were your top 2 or 3?
Right. For me, a lot of it, especially now because I'm streaming every time I'm playing Swtor, a lot of it has to do with the enjoyment of just, being able to talk with people in chat and stuff like that. So social support helps became my number 1. And then it was sort of like, relaxation was up there, and control over my task and being awesome at something. It was like those sorts of things. I think if I was, interestingly, like, if I was not streaming, if I was just playing on my own, it might change that up a bit for me. I think the social support would still be there, but it would be further down for sure, because especially my playstyle tends to be very like solo leveling new characters and other things that aren't necessarily like going onto Discord and chatting. So if I'm not, if I can talk to people who are in the guild who are on, but it's a lot less social if I'm not having the streaming aspect. So it was kind of interesting for me to think about that. And it's like, oh, well, right now, it's very much a social thing. And then if the situation were different, it might be a lot less of one for me. So so that was good.
All right. Yeah. I mean, for me too, I can relate to the whole idea that streaming changes what you feel while you're playing. Because for me, one thing I hope everyone realizes about me is I really enjoy the things I do for work. In fact, I find a way to make them fun, and more a part of who I want to be as a person, which is why I do these extra research projects and things. But when I'm streaming, it does make Swtor have a bit more of that work feel to it. Like, I mentally feel like I have a goal. I feel a lot more disappointed when I lose and I'm streaming, because I want my audience to see what the successful conclusion of these fights look like, just as much as I want to be a part of the successful conclusion. And so I'm always trying to figure out like what activities in the game will give me the vibe or the feeling that I'm looking for when I sign in right now. But being the person I am, I ranked things very differently than our community did, and that's not a surprise. So I put things like I can problem solve well and being awesome at something very high, and those are middle of the road kinds of factors for a lot of people who play. The strongest two in the ranking list were relaxation, which that's very common for video games. If we're talking about stress and we're talking about video games, people will point to, I want to relax.
Right.
So that's the number one, and it's not even close to the others. So its average was a ranking of 2.8. So out of everyone who responded, you can guess that they put that as 1, 2, or 3 in order to get that kind of average.
Yeah, and even with my unusual sort of mindset, when I answered, I think it was somewhere in the middle. It wasn't that far down.
Oh yeah, for me, relaxation was actually the very bottom of the list. I
You
don't.
just don't do it for relaxation.
I don't. No, I have a goal. I'm going at it. Something's going to die. Recently, it's been me, but someday it'll be something BioWare created. I swear to God. But the majority of the, we know from my study and other things we've talked about that the majority of this population does like to relax and they love role playing. In fact, I had a conversation with Charles Boyd on Twitter yesterday, which may be the first time that's ever happened. We were talking about the role of the light side and the dark side in the Old Republic. And my points were all about how different Star Wars characters draw their strength from how strong they are on their side of the Force. And I was talking about Yoda and Emperor Palpatine, and how obviously they're either light 5, dark 5, or they've created their own number system and they're like light 13, dark 13. But my argument there was they clearly draw their power from how purely they follow their own alignment.
Right.
And
that's a good point.
And so I was arguing with him that people who reach light 5 or dark 5, especially since it's 10,000 points now and it's not 1,000, there should be some kind of statistical thing that happens to them. And his argument was that would break the role players who are going for like the 3s and 2s or the gray neutral. And then I was saying, well, make a gray neutral bonus then too, or make the force bonuses activate maybe once you pass 3 and you're in 3, 4, 5, but make them equivalent to the neutral ones, and then so that you don't get them right from the beginning of the game, just make it so they only kick in once you finish your class story or something, so that your tune has mastery. Or anyway, I went off on a tangent. It was so much fun talking with Charles about that. Other factors about why we play to de-stress or things like escape, which for me mentally that aligns with relaxation a little bit. So those are the things. Like we're all wired differently, and there's enough of us to plug up the Starforge queue, so that's nice. And my message for the community today, Chill, is however you play, keep doing it, because this game is great, and we can keep it here for a long time.
Excellent. All right. Are we moving along then?
Yep, move along.
Okay. Or did you want to talk about your frustration survey a little bit?
No, I mean, that fit in with... I mentioned it. Okay. I don't want to spill the beans yet. It's really quick. Under 5 minutes is the time most people are clocking on it. So it's not like the Myers-Briggs where you guys sit down and focus for 25 minutes. Not even close. It's super simple. And it just gets you thinking about what kind of people in this game tick you off, what kinds of challenges drag you down. Just how do you tick? And we'll talk about that more in a future episode, I promise.
Excellent. All right, then we'll get on to the holo feed. We'll go over the news. And the main bit of news this week, or since the last episode, was the Spoils of War live stream. It was on May 30th. It had Musco and Charles and Keith. And is basically, they stuck to the gearing, the changes to the gearing. They did not go into the new operation or some of the new story areas or anything like that. They pretty much stuck to gearing. So some of the important thing. I'll just kind of go through here, and we'll kind of hit some of the good highlights. I would say, just as an overall sort of general feel, I would say that we certainly learned a fair bit. However, to me, there's still going to be a lot of devil in the details that, like, until we see like how these things sort of come together, what sort of set bonuses and stuff we're talking about, that sort of thing. Once we see those, we'll have a better idea of how it's really going to work. But still, we got a lot of good information from this as well. So they learned a lot, they say, from Galactic Command and also from the OSIS gearing, like, what worked, what didn't. What they wanted to sort of emphasize with these changes was the play your way, which they use as a phrase like many times, and the idea being that pretty much no matter what sort of game, what you're doing inside the game, you can get gear that way. Galactic Command is going to remain as a supplementary system, and then they did go over like where like the primary systems are, and as well as the supplementary. And they say the reason for that is they wanted more protection from randomness, RNG protection. So
yes,
yeah, getting gear other ways with Galactic Command, which is going to change its name. We'll talk about that. But it's essentially Galactic Command with some slight changes beyond the name, but a few other things. That'll be there, sort of like a fun supplementary thing that does give you sort of random stuff once in a while, but it's not going to be necessarily the main way to gear up, which is pretty much how it has been since it came out. Items are all going to be legacy bound, so the left side, especially of your gear, all the implants and all that, will be legacy bound, so you can send them from one character to another. Set bonuses and tacticals. When it comes to those, they want to have additional set bonuses. So we kind of went from a point in the game early on where there was some variation. You could actually have different set bonuses and choose which one works best for your playstyle or your character or whatever. And that pretty much got narrowed down, and now it's like whatever your spec is, there's a set bonus, 6-piece, 2-4-6 piece, and that's what you're going for. Yeah, exactly. The set bonuses are going to be for both advanced and base classes, so there's going to be some variation there, and different sizes, not just the 2-4-6. So yeah. And then the tacticals is a new item slot, so it's it's not connected to any current item slot. It's actually going to be an entirely new item slot. And they said that they wanted it to be playstyle defining, so often about it affecting how abilities work. So they have also talked in the past about having tacticals that are more about leveling faster or doing better at crew skills and stuff like that. But you can also have tacticals that will affect how abilities are used by your character, stuff like that. They're going to be more rare. They're for disciplines and advanced classes, but not base classes, so they're going to be a little more zoomed in there. But they did emphasize that there were still going to be general options like the XP games and stuff like that. So sample effects for Inquisitor, advanced class, and the advanced classes to it. And they did stress that these are just samples and they're subject to change and so on. So for example, Inquisitors in general, the cooldown of Whirlwind could be reduced. Also, killing an enemy will reset Whirlwind's cooldown, stuff like that. Sorcerer, activating Unnatural Preservation, removes Static Barrier's deionize effect from you, which is pretty cool because that's what gates you from just having Static Barrier on you every cooldown, every global. Yeah. So pretty sweet there. Assassin, I thought this was a cool idea. Force Shroud could also apply to any ally you are guarding. That seems pretty OP to me, or at least potentially very powerful. Especially since DPS assassins can guard, so yeah, it'd be pretty cool if like you were an assassin, you could guard your tank in an operation, and then have Force Shroud affect them as well, that sort of thing.
That also completely changes the whole idea of stealth attacking the goal points in a PvP match too. Because you get that handful of seconds if you use the ability that puts the shroud on the ground.
Yeah.
And then they have to follow you. Sometimes that's clunky, or sometimes you jump and everyone whose feet are still on the ground, they materialize and then they vanish again. But the way this would work means you can just bring a merc with you over to the point and really assassinate whoever's guarding that node.
Yeah, it sounds very cool, actually.
Yeah.
Lightning crushing darkness's damage over time would be increased, and the chance that forked darkness causes crushing darkness to double tick is improved.
That sounds amazing. Let's just end the podcast right there. I just need to
you just want to go do that?
Make sure this happens.
Yeah. Madness, Death Field does more damage to all targets and spread force slow effects, which is kind of cool. Because Death Field, I think, isn't Death Field already where some of the stuff spreads anyway? So it would also spread force slow if you had that on someone.
I am not sure. I only tinker
I think
with
it does, but I can't remember.
When it's a rainy day.
Yeah. And then Corruption. Revivification heals more for each ally it affects. It's kind of a cool idea.
That's really helpful, too. It would encourage people to actually put that move on the ground a lot more
Bunch
often.
it up.
Because if it can help you catch up, then that could become the strongest heal move you have.
Right. It might be a situation where it's like, we need, the tanks need heals. Everyone run into the revivification.
Well, that should be happening anyway. Tip of the week.
Yeah. Run into your friendly neighborhood revivification. Yeah.
Yep. Can we just print shirts that say that?
Probably could.
I don't know. And you don't have to stay in that one either, community. You can run through revivification and it will keep ticking on you.
Right. So basically, I mean, these tacticals, especially the ones that are, about specific abilities, have the potential to change how a particular class is played. So it's interesting to see how that's going to work. So they also talked about amplifiers. Amplifiers are new, but not a new slot. They're so how apparently is it's a small bonus. They're designed to be available for pieces of gear, but also on armorings, mods, enhancements. So potentially you could have apparently you can have 4 different amplifiers on a piece of gear. So for example, if it was a chest piece that had those 3 slots, and then on the base slot as well, they could all have amplifiers. And Eric has said that they're going to be watching very closely to make sure that the cumulative effect of all these amplifiers is not going to be overwhelming. But they are small bonus stats that appear on shells, armoring, hilts, barrels, mods, and enhancements. They have said that they're not going to include them in PvE balance targets, which is interesting because clearly, like operatives, people who are doing operations are going to have them. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually sticks around. But anyway, they're saying it's not going to be included. And the effects appear on specific mod types. For example, shells and armorings might have different possible amplifiers. So there you go. So it could be armor pen, increased healing received, better harvesting results. So you can see some of these are not just straight stats either. Increased periodic damage, increased XP, CXP, or rep, increased profession skills, stuff like that. Statistical effects on PvP. So this is not specifically about amplifiers, but just what they said that they want to do just in terms of bolster for PvP. So bolster is going to take you to the highest item rating. However, they also said that, and they clarify this later on, that doesn't include a lot of other, doesn't include like amplifiers and stuff like that. Because bolster is going to take you to the highest item rating, the only things that can actually affect you beyond that will be your tactical, your set bonuses, and the amplifiers that are on the gear. Unranked war zones can award tacticals and set items, but they cannot earn the highest item rating equipment. So ranked war zones will be the way to do that, I suppose, if you're into PvP. So in terms of acquiring items, once you hit level 75, they have like this gearing loop, and basically it's like you play what you want. all content is viable to acquire gear. Harder content will be more rewarding. The drops will then scale based on your character's gear. So partly from content, but also based on your current gear. So basically what's going to happen is, like, if you get a command box and you open it up, the command box is actually going to look at your current gear and then it will basically give something that's probably slightly above what you have right now. So that's basically how it's going to go. So as you gear up, it will very slowly ratchet up as well, which is a very interesting idea, and I don't think we've seen anything like that. The drops have always been based on either the level of the command box, or, like, what boss was this? Was it a story mode boss or a hard mode boss? And then you just get a drop based on what gear it is. But now it's actually going to be based on what your gear level is, and it's going to try to put it slightly above that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, if it works, it's going to be amazing. And I think, as a person whose first 4 or 5 OSIS boxes were the chess piece just 6 months ago, I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really slows you down when you invest your time in doing something and you get the exact same thing you've already gotten.
Right.
And I know that as an MMO, you're probably never going to remove the chance of that happening. But
right, because it's still going to be very much RNG. It's just that hopefully all this gear is going to be very slightly better than what you're getting or what you have right now. Presumably, though, there's going to be a lot of times when, it's either like, oh, I don't need this because I'm already accuracy, maxed out, even though it would otherwise be above, that sort of thing.
Yeah, they talked a lot too about how gearing isn't just vertical progression, it's going to be horizontal as well.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the shells having the different buzzwords like amplifiers and tacticals and all the other things we do with our gear, we're not just looking at, is the plus number bigger on this one?
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to have playstyle ramifications.
Right.
And that's going to make, even if it's a lateral move, like, oh, I already have a 264 chess piece, but you can look at the finer details of that new chess piece that just dropped and try to figure out, why did the game think I needed this? And I'm sure there's going to be times where the conclusion is, I don't need this.
Sure.
But just the idea that we have to look first. And,
instead of just immediately discarding it. Yeah.
Right. Oh, the numbers are smaller. Trash it. Vendor it.
Yeah.
I like this idea. It makes it more involved, and it probably will lead to characters where we can't just automatically assume we know exactly what they're capable of based on what kind of weapons they're running around with and what that number under their name is when we put our cursor on them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's still going to be RNG. However, because there's different set bonuses, you might actually, even if it was the same level of gear, you might find a set bonus that's like, oh, okay, I don't have that one. This is for my base class, but I've been working on my advanced class, but now I can have my set bonus for my base class. And that might be useful, when you're doing different activities, that sort of thing. They also are wanting to add RNG protection on set and tactical items. So the idea is, as you go longer without getting a set item drop, the higher your chances of getting a drop will be. Beyond just the law of large numbers, I assume they meant, but it sounded like it was actually going to ratchet up the percentage chance of you getting one. So, so which will be nice because, my poor Santa character is, especially as flip-flopping between the two of them, the set bonuses, I had to end up buying some 230s just to actually get some set bonuses going. It was pretty sad. And some of them were actually downgrades, but whatever. Anyway, all items and tacticals can be moved through Legacy, which they've kind of talked about before. They're very happy about this. They clearly want that to be a thing because it's...
I'm happy about this too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, especially
it will
if you...
help my sages have good left side items.
Exactly. The set bonuses... Now, currently, set bonuses are on the armoring, so if you move the armoring, you're moving the set bonus. But now, the set bonus is going to be on the shell. So, as you put in different armorings, it's not going to affect the fact that you have a set bonus. Kind of cool. because that way, once you have a set bonus, you're good to go. So
It'll
I like
also
that.
lead to many new iterations of when you preview other people's gear, what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of everyone having that same look, because we're all in the 246, 248 range, or each class has that one set where it's the same except for the coloration.
Right.
So since the shells, I'm assuming they'll have different appearances too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I hope. Also, I've been using the gear that drops from the heroic missions for years now, from the crates that you open on Odessen,
Oh.
because those are legacy bound. But
Mm-hmm.
you know what all of those look like now too.
That's
So
true.
anything that gets away from what we know about legacy gear and makes it new, like everything can be legacy gear, because there's a lot of pieces of gear that have never become legacy sets, and so I never use them. And so the structure
Right.
of the game overrides the small part of me that likes to role play.
So then they talked about Galactic Command, which is now going to be called Galactic Renown.
Renown, like
Yeah,
it
it's going to work.
happened before in the past, and we don't talk about it now.
Yeah, it'll work a little differently, and also I believe partly they wanted to change the name simply because the Alliance is no longer a galactic power. So
Spoilers.
yeah, and so instead of being Galactic Command, it's now Galactic Renown, where it's more about how well known your character is or powerful your character is. Command is now going to be called Renown. There's going to the anytime you get an achievement in Galactic Command now, it's gonna. But once it becomes renowned, that's all gonna be locked off. They're all gonna become feats of strength. They're gonna be worth 0, but they'll have a record of which ones you accomplished before it became Galactic Renown. So they did confirm that if you're
So that means
an
if you
achievement
want
hound.
to get to rank 300 on every class, you need to do this before
Yep.
Renown kicks in.
Need to hustle it up because it's coming.
I have 2 classes left.
Yeah, some of the things that are different about it are, first of all, it's gonna be flat leveling experience. Like right now, when you ding someone, at level 70, those first boxes, come really fast, and then the later ones, once you hit like close to 300 or at 300, the boxes are few and far between. This one, they're just gonna have it at one flat number. It's gonna stay at that number, and I think the idea is also that way it doesn't matter so much what level you're at, because you're gonna get those boxes at the same pace anyway. And what's going to happen is that when you open up a crate, it's going to check against your item level and then try to give you relevant gear based on that. So again, the both for drops and also now for the crates, it's going to look at your current gear and try to give you something slightly better, which is kind of cool. And that's for that. Because of this, there's no longer crate level 1, 2, 3, and 4. All the crates levels are going to be, there's not going to be crate levels. They're all going to be the same because they're all going to be checking against what you're currently wearing. Renown is now seasonal with long seasons. I don't know exactly what that means, because if it's the same amount of points per level, I don't know. Maybe it's an achievement thing mostly, but we'll see how that works. But CXP is now going to be derived from a percentage of regular XP earned, and that they've started doing that. We'll see that in the patch notes. But CXP is basically going to just be a percentage of regular XP earned. It's just gonna go that way. Right now, it's like CXP is only from certain things. It's from killing certain things and then accomplishing certain missions and stuff like that. But what's going to happen is CXP will simply be a percentage of regular XP earned. So, which is kind of cool, because that way if you're exploring or something, you open up a new area. Well, if you're at max level right now, you get nothing. You would have gotten experience if you were still leveling, but at max level you get nothing. But now you should be getting a small amount of command XP instead, which is kind of cool. Let's see. If you have any perks for command XP, like if you've gotten to the 300 and then spent the credits to do the little bonus, those are going to roll over, and they're going to do the full details later. But But basically, if you have Command XP bonuses now, you will have Renown XP bonuses. So, right. Conquests are also going to be a supplementary system for gearing. Changes to earning conquest points will start in 5.10.3, which is live now. And there's going to be gear in personal and guild conquest rewards. So conquests are going to become part of the gearing process as well. But what happens when you get gear that you don't want? So they're going to have something called deconstruction. It's a little bit like reverse engineering, only anyone can do it. You don't have to have a crafting profession. But if you do have the craft, if you would be able to reverse engineer it, you'll have certain, reverse engineering advantages as well. But basically, the items are going to break down into crafting material or scrap or new currency. There's going to be an item interface for item deconstruction and reverse engineering. And you'll be able to just, take anything you don't need, and you'll just reverse engineer that sucker and get crafting material or scrap or new currency. And then there will be places where you can go and buy gear from it. So there you go. Crafting, they're looking at hard. There's going to be a lot of different changes. They know that it needs to be viable to reflect the play your way. Items are going to crafted are going to be competitive with in-game drops, but require significant effort and have a few min-maxing drawbacks. And then professions and Onslaught will be able to do the following. They'll be able to craft unmoddable max gear rating gear. They will have fewer amplifiers. They will be able to craft max item rating mods and enhancements, however. However, world drops will roll differently for greater min-max potentials. And then crafting can make some craft-only tactical items. So there's definitely going to be crafting uses for crafting no matter what. Crafting's not my bag really, but this definitely sounds like it'll actually be kind of an upgrade for where it is right now. There'll be new vendors, 2 of them to focus on the items that you need to get. Vendor 1 will accept the new currency to allow you to purchase items for specific slots, and that one's just going to be around. Vendor 2 is going to appear regularly, but be elusive, not there all the time, and will have a changing selection of specific set items and tacticals for all classes. So what you'll want to do is when Vendor 2 is in town, you're going to want to check them out, grab the tacticals that you want and the set items that you want, and then because there's going to be potentially a whole different range of items the next time that vendor's around.
They should make it so Vendor 2 shows up in different places too.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the same spot on the fleet, make him hard to find, like a Datacron.
Right.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Why didn't I make this game chill?
They did re-emphasize that they're still avoiding that no gear with stats are going to be buyable with cartel coins, so they're still avoiding the pay-to-win approach, which is what we want to hear. They did talk about the PTS, which is going to be coming up. They're targeting June for the first part of the PTS, and it's going to be for the sorcerer with gear and new abilities. They did not talk about what the new abilities for each classes would be today, but that will be in the PTS. The PTS is going to be testing in phases with targeted testing, like for example for the different classes and so on, with wipes between phases. It's going to show the return of PTS rewards. So if you're actually testing, there's different rewards you can get. That was a thing early on in the game. If you went onto the PTS and you leveled a character a certain amount, you got a title that would show up in the real game, not just on the test server. They also emphasize that the PTS is not going to be under NDA, and so it can be streamed or talked about freely. So pretty cool there. That's going to be coming up probably I would say by the next OotiniCast in 2 weeks. We would either have the PTS out, or at least we'll know when it's going to be coming. That seems to be how that's going to happen. So they've been putting out a lot of stuff on the forums. They want feedback, so they've got a lot of feedback threads thrown up there. They're looking to do a Reddit AMAAASOW, which is ask me almost anything about Spoils of War.
I was wondering what you typed there.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? They're looking to do surveys and all kinds of good stuff.
They didn't
Yeah,
ask me to help them with that, Chill. What
I know.
gives?
Well, you might maybe if you offer it.
I'd volunteer to help with your data collection and interpretation needs.
Right. So yeah, and then they basically put out a couple of articles that basically re-emphasized everything that they said. But we'll go over some of the little things that they touched on that are slightly different or clarifying. So amplifiers on weapons and how powerful will they be? And Eric said, I can hit both of those. Weapon shells will not have amplifiers while they're not available in Outfitter. So that's interesting. So it sounds like they eventually want to have them, but the way that weapons are set up right now, because they don't show up in the Outfitter, they're not going to have amplifiers on them. Yeah, interesting. As long as everyone's on the same playing field, it doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. And also, it's in terms of amplifiers, I don't want to get too specific yet, but the percentage value of amplifiers will be very small. If you get a very small bonus on multiple mods, it can add up, but the overall impact should not be a substantial one anyway, and is mostly about tweaking and customizing. So yeah, they are looking at amplifiers and PvP balance, since it's assumed that players will have them. However, they are not using them for balance targets and PvE content, operation bosses, and so on. Which is interesting because we know the operation players are going to have them. So I don't know.
I wonder if they're trying to make it so a larger percentage of the community can win different content. And so, say, like if the amplifier adds 15 points to something, for example, they might be looking at that like, okay, have those all over your gear. Your skill is still going to be the thing that determines whether you win, and we don't have to shift the bosses up because of what amounts to 90 points of amplified stat.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Amplifiers will not have a correlation to item rating, so you won't necessarily get the best amps from ranked PvP, for instance. You can get the highest item rating gear from ranked, that is true, but it's not the same thing as amps. And you can technically get any amp on any piece of gear that could contain them regardless of item rating. So that's interesting. They didn't really talk a lot about the reroll feature, but that is a thing we know about. Once you have a chance to get on the new items, they want to know your thoughts. So if you are doing test server, please give them feedback. And someone asked, what if I want to play unranked PvP only? And Eric said, glad you brought this up. There's been some misconception about how gearing works when we indicate play your way. Let me make some direct statements and add clarification. You do not need to play any content to get specific items. You can play almost any content in the game to get any item. Since you brought up specifically that you never want to play ranked and only want to play unranked, let me use that as an example. It is still possible that specific items come from specific content. Let's say there's a specific tactical that only comes from ranked. And yes, that does mean that specific item will not come from playing unranked war zones. However, you can get that item from renown crates, conquest rewards, and by spending Charles points or Chuck bucks, which is what they started calling it in the stream. Which basically means the stuff that the scrap and so on that you sell to, that you use for the vendors. They started calling them Chuck bucks. So there are different ways to get the gear that you might not be able to get, from playing let me put that a better way. So if you're not doing ranked or if you're not doing operations, there will be other ways to get that gear. It's going to be more roundabout and a little more difficult. So there you go. And let's see. Yeah, so let's see. Let's go ahead and get to, first of all, general thoughts. Let's go ahead and, I think we're pretty much good on this. We need to keep moving also. So general thoughts on the gearing changes as we know them so far?
Well, anytime they change the gear, it completely changes the way I strategize my play.
Right.
So it looks like they have a lot of good ideas that are just left to the unknown of what happens in execution.
Mm-hmm.
And it does look like they're trying to iron out some of the things that make play your way unrewarding. So they're trying to make it so if we literally do play our way, it will end up being a rewarding experience. So
I just had a thought. I'm wondering for crafted materials, because obviously you can reverse engineer them now. Well, if you break them down, will they break down into like these scrap or chuck bucks or whatever? So could you actually just like do nothing but like gear, send companions out, make, get the materials, make gear, break it down, then go to the vendor and get gear that way? It sounds like you can.
it might be that doing it that way is a lot longer of a grind than just going and getting the gear.
Maybe so.
Yeah, like the check bucks or whatever might be such a low quantity that that doesn't make sense. But through the natural process of destroying things that are useless over a large period of time, you would end up getting a new piece.
Right.
But that's not good for primary gearing.
Yeah, I'm wondering if what I should be doing is instead of vendoring gear, like, just like the random stuff that drops on Osis, for instance, because Osis drops like 242 gear and some 232 and through some other gear of that range. If I should just be like hoarding it, putting it in storage, and then just break it all down once September hits. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure if anything that we could get in our inventory right now will be useful come expansion time.
Right. Maybe you can only I don't know, maybe you can only break it down for points if they're if it's level 75 gear, I guess. I don't know.
I remember them saying something about, maybe Musco said it, that he's not sure what this means for gear that currently exists.
Right.
That it's for things that will be added into the game.
Right.
But they might make it retroactive. I mean, if they're going to be smart about it and try not to mess the whole game up, they probably should focus on new gear now. And then after a month or two of the expansion being live, then try to apply all that code and logic to gear that already exists.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so. All right. Let's see. So there were the Dantooine Incursion has dropped 5.10.3. It is live. Starforge was having some issues right before we started the podcast. We'd heard about them. I tried to log in to Starforge, and at that point, it said it was available, and it did log me, or it tried to log me in, but it put me in a queue. There were 545 people ahead of me, so it was a pretty long queue. Apparently there have been some lag issues and so on. Starforge was briefly brought back up. And then I tried to log in after that happened, and hopefully it gets a little better. But but apparently it's still having issues. Yeah, some people in the chat are saying that as of right now, at least, they're still having issues. So yeah, Dantooine Incursion is live though. I was on Satil Shan, so that's where we have the Utini Guild. So that's where I was playing. Dantooine's very pretty. Pirate Incursion is going to be going, and they're going to repeat it, so it's actually going to be 2 weeks in a row. Then it's going to become a standard recurring event. Interestingly, there's a couple of other patch note bits that are kind of cool. New planetary transitions. Alderaan, Corellia, Hoth, Korriban, Tython, and many more planets have had their arrivals updated, which is, when you, on your ship, you travel there, and then, you see what happens when it transitions from one to the other through hyperspace and all that. And it's actually they actually changed a bunch of those. So I haven't tried that yet, but it's going to be kind of cool to see what those look like. There is going to be a double command experience, and more from June 11th to June 18th. So that's going to be a good time. And Nar Shaddaa Nightlife. The Nightlife event is going to be coming back. And get your credits ready, yeah, for June 18th through July 30th. So it is going to last, a month and a half. That's pretty typical. The Nightlife event is a longer event. It doesn't last just a week. It has always lasted over a month before as well. So it is as well this time. So June 18th through July 30th is going to be the Nightlife. Very exciting. And let me see if there's any general show notes that were particularly interesting. I thought there was one or two when I looked earlier. Let's see. There's always weird bugs that, Players who deposit credits into their guild bank will no longer be dropped to character select in rare circumstances. It's like,
how dare you contribute to your guild?
How does that bug even happen? I don't know. These games are so complex. Let's see. Characters' weapons will no longer float in front of the character when they're revived. That's always nice. Let's see.
I mean,
and you can now preview items from the guild bank. That's kind of cool. Because sometimes it's like, oh, the guild has something, but I don't know if I don't know if that's quite the emote that I wanted or whatever. It's like now you can preview it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Many Stronghold centerpiece hooks now have additional hook slots of varying sizes, in addition to their functioning as a centerpiece hook. Very cool. Because sometimes it's like you have a smallish room, but there's a giant centerpiece thing in the middle. It's like, oh, I don't really want to fill up my room with one big statue or something. Let's see. The drop rate for item rating 252 and 258 items, along with Masterwork crystals, has been increased for command crates. That's exciting. I believe that only counts when you hit the 300 mark, but I could be wrong.
It probably does.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get a Masterwork crystal from a tier 2 or whatever. And also, this is what we touched on before. A percentage of all experience earned is now converted to conquest points, which is cool. I'll have to check that out. Go to a planet where I have not fully explored and just see if, exploring that area gives me command experience, where normally it would give me nothing because I'm already max level, and it would have given me regular experience. So pretty cool. Multiplier for earning conquest points in a guild has been reduced to 2 times, down from 3 times. And developer note, although this is a nerf to the multiplier for conquests in guilds, an average player should not see a reduction in conquest points earned due to the XP conquest point change. Active players should see increased conquest points earned overall. In other words, conquest points, you get them because you're going to be getting CXP now from regular experience. They had to change this multiplier because you're going to get more anyway. So that's pretty cool. Not a lot of class changes, but Jedi Knight, there was one change. Guardian Defense. The Stalwart Defense utility no longer grants unintended damage reduction in addition to the 30% reduction granted while stunned. So apparently it was doing a little bit too well. And yeah, there we go. Any other thoughts about this expansion? Or not expansion, but this particular daily area and so on?
Nope, just waiting to play it.
Yeah.
Hope they sort out the login issues. But I'm not going to have time to play today, I don't think. So. Right.
Oh well, in general Star Wars news, Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland has now opened, so if you go there, we'd love to hear about it. Galaxy's Edge has been, in the news for quite a while. It sounds really awesome. Hope some people get a chance to see it. Apparently, it's so popular that for the first few weeks, you can be in there for 4 hours, and then after that, that's as long as you're supposed to be in there. After that, apparently, it's going to be like normal Disneyland thing, where if you buy you have an all-day pass, you can stay in Galaxy's Edge all day if you wanted. So pretty cool. So I think that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show, and that's how you know I do this every single episode. And you can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @utinicast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, utinicast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live, bi-weekly, usually on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. Go to utinicast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby, and thank you to the chat room.
Thanks, everyone.
And we'll see you next show. All right, everyone. Thanks for coming on this really unusual time. Really looking forward to playing some more on Dantooine. Hope everyone's, if you're playing on Starforge or one of the other servers that seems to be having issues right now, hope that gets settled out for you really fast. Although I won't be playing for a while. I will stream later today, but I always like to do the editing relatively soon after we record the episodes. I'm going to have some lunch, do my editing, and I'll stream later. I just don't know exactly when. So you guys have fun. Yeah, Dantooine's very pretty. Some of the missions were kind of cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of what they have. And yeah, have a good one, and we'll see you next time. All right, I'm going to stop the stream, go to the broadcast, stop the broadcast.